It was not much better. The dam.
Not that I. 37,000.
I was ready if you need me to be.
Last year, I don't think there was no doubt in my moving.
Sorry.
That's what you gotta do. Yeah.
Looks like the Jones sits right on my line.
Maybe that.
Evening, Jeremy. Wild and crazy. I trust you are.
Crazy. I don't know about why.
Gotcha. I have a question before we conclude this evening, but I'll just don't run off till I quiz you. Please. Yes. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 7 o'clock, and I would, before I call the city council meeting to order, would like to read a comment regarding our meeting. Public comments are always welcome, and I invite you to sign up if you wish to speak tonight. I will recognize those signed up during the citizens' remarks section of council's agenda. And during this agenda item, I will ask the following guidelines be observed. Once recognized to speak, please come forward, stand at the podium, and for the record, state your name and if you are a resident of Lexington, Virginia. If you want to be contacted after this meeting, please provide your contact information to our clerk, Janie Hostetter. Please make your comments to the council as a whole and do not engage the audience. Please be brief, state your positions, and provide facts. Please provide written statements and/or supporting materials to the clerk for distribution to the council and the city manager. Debate is prohibited. This is a time for you to share your thoughts and ideas with city council. And lastly, I ask that you speak clearly as we want to hear what you have to say. Council allots 3 minutes to each speaker, and individuals may not yield their allotted time to another person. And if you represent a group, you are allotted 5 minutes, and you are invited to identify the other members in your group who are in attendance. I remind us all that meetings of the city council are formal proceedings and are recorded for all to listen to another day. And with that, I would like to call the February 2025 Lexington City Council meeting to order. And first item of business, if you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. States of America, to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. Next item is consideration of the agenda. I'm not aware of any changes. I would offer, if council has no objection, our new business 15.1 discussion and consideration of resolution 2025-05 be moved up under presentations just after our personal property tax relief presentation. And if there are no objections to that change, we will approve the agenda with that modification and move into personal property tax relief. Karen Roundy, come on down. Yes. That's the ambition.
Good evening. Karen Roundy, Commissioner of Revenue, City of Lexington, and I am a citizen of Lexington. And I sent the information earlier for everyone to look over. Everyone's pretty familiar with this except for Councilman Driscoll. So I'm just going to briefly go over things. Each year, I ask council to set a percentage rate for the personal property tax release based upon the amount of money that the state gives the city of Lexington. It's the same amount since 2006 that we'll get, and it's right now, it's all we're going to get each year. And so I try to come up with the number that works best for the city and for the citizens to give them the most that we can for the relief. Last year, it was 44%, and I think I had mentioned the year before that it would probably be around that for a while. And this year, I'm requesting, and the treasurer's requesting, the 44% again. Councilman Driscoll, when you looked over everything, did you have any questions about it specifically?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you for the good note, which
Thank you, sir.
explained it.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No, ma'am.
If not, I'd like to ask that you consider approving resolution 2025-05 for tax year 2025, setting the personal property tax relief at 44% starting January 1st, 2025.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank
you. Council, asks for your consideration.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-04, setting the personal property tax relief percentage at 44% for 2025.
Second.
Nitpicky, but it's 2025-05. Is that the,
The council,
Oh,
give
20,
me the
the
resolution.
resolution is 2025. The motion said it was 2025-04. Did I get it wrong? Oh, it's 05. It is 05.
I've got on the agenda is 05, but let me look.
In the
No,
packet.
it's 05. Okay, 05.
The page before it said 04.
The one Karen's recommending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even clear. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, would ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Strong,
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Driscoll.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander. Motion carries unanimously. Karen, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'd just like to make a comment. This will be the last time I present this request to you. And I've enjoyed working with all of you over the last 24 years, some of you almost the whole 24 years. And I look forward to being a citizen also and working with you. So thank you very much.
Well, Karen, thank you very much for the work that you've done over these many decades. And we look forward to your return just to come and hang out with us. Have a great night. Next item of business is 5.2, Columbia Gas presentation, the 2025 work plan. I'll call on city manager to introduce this.
Thank you, Mayor. This evening, we have with us gentlemen from Columbia Gas, and they're here to provide a little bit of information about the upcoming work plan that they have. And so I'd like to welcome them to our meeting this evening.
Zach, come on up.
Zach Probst with Columbia Gas, acting as the construction leader for the area here. With me, I've got Cole Kingery, construction manager, who I report to. We're going to present two projects that the city of Lexington will see with Columbia Gas. Both are age and condition type projects. We're coming in to replace pipeline that is aged out. It's a safety thing. We're going to bring in new plastic pipe, as well as convert the services over in the area as well and adjacent to those projects. As you can see here, this is the Taylor Street project. I am going to down. Jump to the Stonewall project. Chronologically, this will be the first project that the city's going to see. We've got a red outlined area there for the area that we're going to impact. This is a closer street view here. We've got the intersection of Stonewall and Zoom. Perfect. So looking at Stonewall project.
It's Stonewall and Ross Road, Marshall. Yeah.
Work our way all the way down Stonewall. Area, all the way down deeper on the Sunset area. That is, we're taking the entirety of that subdivision. That is all going to be performed on Middle Pipeline, our contract partner. We will have Columbia Gas representatives there to oversee the project, handle anything on site. as well as anything can be elevated to myself as well. They all report to me. That project, is 12,800 approximately feet, approximately 100 services. Ideally starting in the next week or so, we're looking at about 24-week duration, somewhere around mid-August, finishing the project up. Restoration would then follow, which we have another contract partner to do that as well. Questions, concerns on the first project there?
What does restoration look like? I recall when Jefferson Street was worked on, we were told multiple times restoration would include repaving the entire road, and it ended up, we were misled. And so it's just patch. There's about 40 patches up Jefferson. So what can the residents expect?
So this project as a whole is designed as an open cut. So we would essentially open the street up to lay the pipeline into. We are investigating opportunities for trenchless bore or trenchless technology to directional bore, which would minimize the impact of the roadway. There are state laws that are going to regulate what we can and can't do for that. Where we do open cut and where the spotting patches are close together for the directional bore, we would link those patches together and make things look nice and maintain drivability. Under normal circumstances, we don't pave edge to edge, concrete to concrete, curb and gutter. However, depending on the damage that's done, if there's unforeseen things where we need to navigate from one side of the street to the other, we will make a quality patch there. So as we work through the project, I'd like to work with the locals here, local inspectors, to come to an agreement on a satisfactory patch there.
What avenues do residents have for communication or understanding? And again, looking at some of the prior jobs, it seems like you come and you guys would open up the road and get busy and replace stuff. And then it may just a sheet of steel be put down and not come back for a week or something. Is there either a website or an app or something that people can?
So this is going to start with the one of the public notifications here. This is already sent out form of gas newsletter. Police can share with the city as well. It's got a little bit of contact information. There's a second page to this that I didn't add. It's got contact numbers, Facebook pages, things like that. We've also got an 800 number that all of our coordinators on site are going to have. Miller Pipeline is also going to be walking the neighborhood, putting door hangers up, so the contact information there. So there's multiple avenues for communication. Ultimately, that's a lot of that can come to me, and we'll work together.
Terrific. Thank you.
Is this the same project that's been done in other residential areas? And this is is it eventually going to cover all of the residences, streets in Lexington?
This is driven by the age of the pipe in the existing area. So that's where the work is mandated. Doesn't necessarily mean an adjacent neighborhood is going to be covered.
Okay.
We can work with city officials, outside of to look at future work in the next, say, 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
Is there any expected disruption to services while y'all are working on this?
Yes. So the mainline installation will be the first step. We'll install all the new mainline. That's going to come with steel plates, as you spoke about. You're going to see that on the street, as well as making connections in the pipeline. The outer extremities where we're making our tie-ins onto the existing main. A lot of those will be plated as well, weather permitting. Once that main line is gassed up or energized, then our service crews are going to come in behind and they will address each customer individually. Normal circumstances, they're cut off sometime early in the morning, service is tied over, and then they're cut back on that. If there's anything outside of that guideline, we're making communication.
Thank you.
What does that mean when you deal with the individual customer? Where does the contractor, Miller Pipeline, what do they do? Do they take it to the house? Do they just take it to where? Because essentially what I'm asking is, are you digging up people's yards at all?
Yes.
And what, a yard, people take pride in their yard, but it can grow back oftentimes. But a driveway, a sidewalk, what can you talk about that, please?
Hard surface restoration, sidewalks, driveways, regardless of who owns them, whether it's the city of Lexington, a public road right away, or private property, if we dig them up, we're going to repair them. Similar instance to the roadway, if we come up the side of a driveway, and it's held to a very small patch alongside the driveway, service patches are normally narrower. We would then pave a generous patch up the side of the driveway to maintain drivability. There's, in most cases, we don't pave entire driveways unless there's a reason that we had to dig the entire driveway. Concrete, we do take seam to seam, so we're not gonna take patches of sidewalk, we'll do the entire seam to seam there. And then for yard restoration, the general, procedure on that, they'll dig the yard, reseed, topsoil if needed, and we've got a lot of red clay here in this area. Topsoil if needed, seed, straw, if the growing season permits, then we get good quality seed back, good quality grass, excuse me. We have had situations where we do have customers that take a lot of pride and they have a very specific seed that they like in their yard. More than willing to accommodate that. That's not a problem. So, and that communication starts hopefully the day prior or even before then with the contractors to come to say your house to replace your service. And then the day of, they'll also knock on the door, make contact, let you know, hey, we're cutting off. And then once they're done, they'll come, one of our coordinators will then do the relight, cut all your appliances back on. So there's no charge there.
Just to clarify on David's question, so you're doing not just the main, but you're doing the laterals to the house also?
Yes. So, where for, water and sewer, you would say the main and laterals, same thing for us would be the main and services.
Mhm.
And we do own our service line from the point of connection to the main all the way to the meter of the house.
Okay.
So that's our property all the way to there.
There are, age, condition of the surface line could depend on if it's new enough, we may be able to tie it over the street. We have seen more customers have, asked the question, well, why did my neighbor get a new service and I didn't? A lot of times it's because that service line is already new enough. It meets the requirements of today's guidelines, so maybe their service is connected out of the street and their yard isn't. There are a few of those that pop up on the inside of projects that we do that on a lot of the time. So the pipe, the depth of the pipe, maybe it's not located, would it go?
One, just a point of clarification. Could you go back to the newsletter, please? Kind of referring to this project, just in local speak, referring to it as Stonewall. It's a little bit more, I would say almost maybe like Providence Hill, since that's kind of what the locals would know that area, because what you're showing is Johnstone. I mean, you're just showing the entire neighborhood, not just one street or Marshall, so just, I mean, when your contractors are out or you're publicizing this project, my advice would be to call it Providence Hill. And this is not your fault, but Providence Hill lived through some very difficult work from another contractor that was burying underground fiber, where they unfortunately cut and damaged a lot of other things beyond just burying the fiber. So it's not your fault, but it's just in our small community, we're aware of that. And we just want you to be aware of that as you work in that neighborhood, please.
Absolutely. Well, again, you'll have the communication avenues that we spoke about. Columbia and Miller Pipeline are both insured for anything that would be outside of our control. And as far as the naming of the project, it really starts with engineering and how the project is designed. And you'll also have to forgive me, I'm not a city of Lexington resident. So Providence Hill doesn't mean anything to me, unfortunately, which is also why we went ahead and labeled all of the streets in the newsletter.
Yep,
just so that
exactly.
people can go
When I see all the names of the streets, that's what my ears, I really am like, hey, when people hear Stonewall, they might think, oh, I live over on Sunset, which is 3/4 of a mile away, and think they're in the clear, but they're not. So, yeah.
So these are coming from our communication departments to help us be a little bit more thorough with that.
Right.
I think you all might have done some work a year or two ago on Lewis, Washington, Massey, Diamond. Yes.
Yes, that would have been a little more than a year or two ago.
Yeah.
But same general job. Anything else?
Any other questions from council? Two things, even though you don't live in the city of Lexington, if I remember correctly, you are from around these parts.
North of that.
There you go. And Cole's a proud Wildcat, I'm sure, from days gone by. when I saw this marketing piece or information, I thought it was well done and very informative. The other thing I would encourage you to do is build upon that. And also, as they're doing the work, it really wasn't clear who was doing the work on Jefferson and that we're improving things. And some people were worried that something was really wrong or going wrong fast. So, all in the name of progress. If you have any banners to put up and let people know that just upgrading and making their gas lines safer and more effective would be a great piece. Not trying to tell you how to do your job, but
Yeah,
got,
do intend to have message boards out in the area. I think we're gonna try to have 4 of them out to get the span of the width and length of that project. We recognize it's rather large, but we're gonna try to put some message boards out to just notify the public.
terrific. Cole and Zach, appreciate y'all coming out on a cold winter night and getting us up to speed. And thank you for overseeing this project. Hope we just call you with praise of what a great job your team's doing. But if it's anything beyond that, rest assured you'll hear from us one way or another.
Can you briefly hit on the Taylor Street, the second project, just so that we know a little bit beyond Taylor Street, right? Is it more than just Taylor? Because our friends in that area have been through a lot of construction and.
Don't have a set start for that project. Stonewall is gonna pick that thing for you referenced Washington, Milton. That project came up to this intersection here at Taylor. We have the small radio station corner to put down. That project is then gonna run all the way back to Main Street. Just right here in behind this. Overall, so there's the red outline is going to cover that project. It's about a third of the size of Stonewall, so we anticipate about a third of the duration there. 24 weeks, so only 8-week range, 10-week range, depending. The streets here are a lot narrower, so it may take a little bit more time to get in and get out, as well as the restoration protocol that we've come to agreement on.
Do the residents know already?
So our notification through the newsletter, as well as the personnel on site here in that tag, as well as we have leaned on your social media newsletters and whatnot. That's going to be their first interaction with the project.
Very good. Any other questions?
Just picking up on that point, will people have a sense of when their street will be? I mean, you're not going to rip up all the streets, excuse me. You're not going to put this, put the pipe in all at the same time. So I'm sure there's phasing even.
What we adopted with the Nelson Street project, we had a local contact with the city for I believe it's text service that the Lexington has. We would go out weekly and let the city official know we would be affecting, let's say, Moore Street and Taylor Street.
Okay.
Use those avenues to keep people ahead of where we're going to be.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, the alert Rockbridge devices.
I do know, since I live in that neighborhood, I did receive a letter, I think last week, saying that the project was coming up. It didn't have firm dates, but just saying it would start soon. So
Right.
residents should have at least a warning that it's coming up.
That comes from the same department that the newsletter came from, so the information should be consistent.
Very good. Other questions from council or staff? Hearing none. Again, gentlemen, thank you for being here and thank you in advance for the good work you're getting ready to do. And as our staff can support your efforts, please contact the city manager, let him know.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is public hearings. Unless anyone has an objection, Daniel Morrow has been waiting patiently and would like to take up 6.2 before 6.1. And I'll call on the city manager to introduce this.
Thank you, Mayor. On the agenda this evening is legislation to issue not to exceed $23 million of municipal bonds and not to exceed 5.5% interest rate. You've been briefed on this several times, so I'll try and be short, but these will pay for a number of public improvements, including the DSS building, the City Hall renovation, Jackson Street, water and sewer improvements phase 1A, and Diamond Street and White Street stormwater improvements. This project has literally been, these projects have literally been years in the making, and you've got a careful financial plan has been laid out for how to repay this debt. We had a presentation from Davenport at your meeting 2 weeks ago where they gave the information about the city's excellent bond rating. Davenport offered to come here, but they had worse snow in Richmond than we had here. So we invited them to spend the night at home with a cup of hot chocolate or something. So not to come out all the way to Lexington from Richmond. Mr. Laura is here this evening. He is our bond counsel for this issuance. He was happy to make a presentation, but it's up to you if you have any specific questions to ask of him. Just a reminder, we will price the bonds in early March and actually receive and close on the loan, if you will, in late March. That's when we receive the funds. So Mr. Laura is here, happy to answer any questions or happy to answer any questions you have for Ms. Bell or myself.
Daniel, come on up if you like. And forgive me for calling you by the wrong last name. Been called worse, I'm sure.
I have, but it's a lot of vowels in there, I
Yeah.
understand, so.
Thank you.
I also understand this is slightly less entertaining than the gas project, so if you have no questions, I will not be offended, but I understand if you also do have some.
Absolutely. We have been working towards this for quite some time and wanted council to have the opportunity to hear from Daniel and address any questions that you may have with him, the process, timing, or anything of that nature. Zippo.
I mean, he doesn't have you don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not going to ask you what, your read on interest rates. So I'll just let it go.
If I could do that, I would be doing something else for a living.
Yes.
But there is the parameter. There is the parameter of 5.5% that is in there was recommended by the city's financial advisor Davenport. So that was based on a market snapshot when we were doing the resolution.
Exactly. Any legal questions for Daniel? Hearing none, Daniel, thank you for being with us, and I will open the public hearing and ask if there's anybody who would like to speak to the consideration of issuance of bonds by the city of Lexington. And hearing no one or seeing no one wanting to speak, I will close the public hearing at 7:27 and ask for council's consideration.
Find the words. I'll move to approve resolution 2025-06 authorizing City of Lexington to borrow $23 million, not to exceed $23 million and not more than 5.5%.
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, would ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler.
Aye.
Ms. Strawn.
Aye.
Mr. Driscoll.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander. Motion carries unanimously. We look forward to pushing lots of paper and bonds being distributed. So Daniel, thank you. Safe travel, stay warm. We'll see you after the closing. Next item on the agenda is public hearing and consideration of the Tier 3 water rates, and I'll call on the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is the culmination of about 10 years of work on reducing non-revenue water. And as you know, we've entered into memoranda of understanding with Washington and Lee and Virginia Military Institute. As part of those discussions with our institutions of higher learning, VMI is our largest water customer and Washington Lee is our second largest water customer. Through those discussions, as we entered into our master metering MOUs, we agreed to reduce the Tier 3 water rate. As you use more water, you pay a higher rate on the marginal increase in use. So It's kind of the opposite of what we as consumers think, but you know, if you buy in bulk, usually as a consumer, you get a discount. In the case of utilities, many utilities, you actually pay more the more you use. So there are 4 customers who are affected by this. I've already mentioned VMI and Washington and Lee. The Hampton as well as Carilion Hospital also are the only 4 customers who will use enough water in a given billing period to ever reach the tier 3 consumption rates. So all 4 of those customers will benefit from a reduction in the tier 3 water rate to equal the tier 2 water rate. For VMI and Washington Lee, it's substantial. For the other 2 customers, it's rather minimal. But they're the only 4 that are affected. The typical residential or commercial customer is not affected by this change in tier 3 rates. Their water rates don't go up or down. We're doing this in part to soften the impact to both Washington Lee and VMI. There are only 2 master meter customers presently. We may have more down the road, but any master meter customer would benefit from this reduction in tier 3 water rates. We are recommending that we continue to have 3 tiers to our water rates because in the future, as we modify rates, we may be moving those rates, tiers 1, 2, and 3, separately and differently from each other. So this allows this and future councils the flexibility to differentiate those tier 1, 2, and 3 rates. Be happy to answer any questions, but that's my report for this matter.
Thanks, sir. Members of council have any questions?
Have we had conversations with the others that are in the tier 3? Great.
We have not. Well, I have not. I believe Mr. Madigan, Public Works Director, has talked to the hospital, and they have had some unaccounted for non-metered water consumption. And so he has been working with them on a couple of occasions to look at ways for them to reduce their water loss. But that's the extent of my knowledge of what we've talked to in terms of Carilion and the hotel.
Do we have any tier 3 outside the city limits?
I believe the answer is no.
Okay.
If I'm incorrect, I'll let you know.
But this this ordinance would impact, you're looking at inside and outside, making 2 and 3 the same rate.
That's right.
For water, not
For water.
Water only. Yeah.
Correct. Very good. If there are no other questions, I'd like to open the public hearing for regarding the tier 3 water rate ordinance. And is there anyone here who would like to speak to this issue? Seeing no one wanting to speak to this matter, I'll close the public hearing at 7:32 and ask for council's consideration.
I'll make a motion to adopt the legislation to reduce tier 3 water rates pursuant to the ordinance number 2025-01.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, any discussion? Hearing none, a roll call vote. Mr. Driscoll.
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler. Aye. Ms. Strawn.
Aye.
Mr. Betts.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Ms. Alexander.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all, and thank you to staff for the long, laborious effort to get us to this point with the MOUs and as we work through our utility opportunities. Next item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes from January 30. And did we receive the 6th? We did. Okay. Folks have a chance to review those. Any changes or objections to approving them as presented? No objections. They are approved. Next, the citizens' remarks and comments. And I didn't check to see, but Stephanie, come on down. Welcome.
Good evening, Stephanie Wilkinson. I am a citizen and resident of Lexington. First of all, I just want to thank council for its ongoing support of our beautiful downtown, including such things as funding Main Street Lexington and doing lots of improvement projects that bring people and keep people happy here. Recently, the city asked for some feedback on a particular portion of the plan to do renovations to the courthouse square. And I'm speaking in particular about the potential removal of 2 parking spaces, excuse me, in front of the courthouse square. So tonight I come to you on behalf of 74 people who have signed a request that the city reevaluate that. I just want to read you a little bit of what it says. As members of the downtown business community, we believe that this change, taking away 2 parking spaces, is both unnecessary and potentially harmful to the vitality of our businesses. While city studies indicate that there are enough parking spaces to accommodate visitors and residents, our daily experience tells a different story. We frequently hear from customers and visitors who struggle to find convenient parking and as a result, often decide to take their business elsewhere rather than to continue searching. Removing additional parking spaces will only worsen this perception and discourage foot traffic in our area. Additionally, the argument that removing these spaces will enhance the visibility of the park does not outweigh the negative impact of losing parking. There's no strong evidence to suggest that increased sightlines will significantly boost park usage, whereas the reduction of parking is almost certain to inconvenience visitors and deter customers from patronizing downtown shops and restaurants. Having accessible on-street parking is especially important for our older and less mobile patrons. Furthermore, with major building renovations set to take place nearby and an additional space further along Main Street slated to be removed, the demand for parking will only increase. So I sent this out to some downtown business owners and was mildly surprised at how many people signed on. And there are a lot of names you recognize, and I'm just going to quickly remind you: Appalachian Sage, Artists in Cahoots, Cheese to You, Chelsea Collections, Cobblestone Shops, Earthfire Spirit Pottery, East Nelson LLC, Full Circle Catering, Hamrick and Sheridan, Heliotrope Brewery, House Mountain Yarn Company, JF Brown Real Estate, Just Games, Lexington, Ladles and Linens, Lex Nail Bar, Lex Running Shop, Lex Coffee Shop, Lexington Mercantile, Lexington Pet Place, Napa Tie, Papagallo, Pronto, Pumpkin Seeds, Rockbridge Barbell, Sheridan Row Company, Sweet Treats Bakery, The Historian's Books, The McMahon Studio, Walkabout Outfitter, and someplace called Zunzun. So, but thank you for listening, and I hope you'll take that into consideration.
Thanks, Stephanie. Appreciate you being here this evening and sharing those insights with us as we discern the future of Courthouse Square. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to council this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, and I'll ask for council's consideration.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and dueling second, and ask for a roll call vote. Ms. Strawn?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Betts?
Aye.
Mr. Driscoll?
Aye.
Mr. Ziegler?
Aye.
Ms. Alexander? Motion carries unanimously. Get your running shoes out and get ready for the Washington Lee 5K. Not aware of any unfinished business. Under reports and communications, Blue Ridge Resource Authority, Mr. Smith.
No report.
Main Street Lexington, Mr. Smith.
Related to Courthouse Square, Main Street Lexington is on the search for other grant opportunities to help that project along. But the other is to, now that the weather's turning and the holidays are behind us, is to refocus efforts on achieving goals set in the retreat that Main Street had late last year, that being a much more face-to-face contact with downtown business owners by Main Street board members, increased private funding to Main Street organization to take some of the load off what the city provides, and third, to so through a WNL consulting student group, determine any changes in downtown business traffic overall, if it's going up or down, or how do we measure the impact of different initiatives to increase traffic. We're working with a program through tourism that's uses kind of geo netting to determine that. That's all I said.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. Smith? Planning Commission, Ms. Strawn.
Planning Commission met last Thursday, February 13th, and Charlie Hall joined us. So we have all the seats on Planning Commission filled again. And we had a conditional use permit. It was an application by Misty Camden of Yellow Brick Road for a conditional use permit to allow a portion of Lexington Presbyterian Church to be used as a daycare center. And that was unanimously approved, and that'll come before council at our next meeting. And then we had a public hearing, or actually, we did have a public hearing on the zoning ordinance amendment for cottage housing. And we received no comments, and we approved that, and that'll come before council as well, I believe at our next meeting. And then there were two applications for certificate of appropriateness for signage for the temporary city hall buildings. And I left at that point, but I believe those were approved as well. And that's all I have.
Were there any public comments about the changes to parking due to the CUP?
There was, we had one person, Leon Johanning, came, and he was concerned with that. He owns one or two properties, I think, across the street. In the end, Planning Commission decided, the request is for 4 spots. And we basically were told to leave it up to the city manager on how to put signage up, as far as would it be 10-minute all day or during certain peak drop off and pickup times. We did make a recommendation that'll go forward to city council and the city manager to keep at least one of those spots at 10-minute all time during the week. Because if for people who are arriving late, or if they have, snow days, late delays, late starts, then it shifts their whole pickup. So at least they've got one spot sort of available. But yes, he did say he had some concerns about losing.
And of course,
spots.
Mr. Johanning's not a merchant. He's not downtown. He's got private
Right,
buildings
right.
that are on Randolph, but not on Main Street.
Right.
Right.
Any other questions for Ms. Strawn? Regional Tourism Board, Mr. Betts.
Our meeting yesterday was canceled due to the weather. I will note, it's my understanding that an extension to our tourism lease for the Lexington building has been signed, and it's extended through May, end of May.
Very good. Not homeless.
No,
Very
still
good.
still got a space.
Very good. Raro, Mr. Ziegler.
No report.
Threshold, Ms. Alexander.
No report.
Very good. I will follow the theme and have no report this evening, but and bounce past to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of quick items. I'll try and be brief. It snowed again today. On behalf of Public Works, I think we're very much looking forward to spring and an end to the inconvenience. But I did want to commend Public Works for doing, again, an excellent job. The draft budget for FY26 should be submitted to council on March 3rd. That's a Monday. And then we'll be starting a schedule of public meetings and work sessions to go over the proposals and receive your comments on the draft proposals. Speaking of which, March has become a bit of a challenge for scheduling meetings. We have the mayor and I have had some discussion about whether or not to continue the meeting on March 6th, because at least 2 members of council may be unavailable. I will point out we're happy to move a city hall work session to next week. We know the planning commission meets on the 27th at 5 with a full agenda. So it's possible we could either meet at 7 o'clock that evening or an alternative night. The primary purpose of that meeting would be to go over the city hall bids and go over the city hall project, and for council to consider the award of the city hall bid to Wall Construction, if that's your pleasure. I'm uncomfortable if we cancel the March 6th meeting, waiting until March 20th to award that project, or for you to consider awarding that project. We would simply lose another month, and that costs us another month of rent. So I'm looking for a little bit of direction from you all. Happy to meet on the 26th, 27th, happy to meet on a Saturday, happy to meet on the 6th. I will point out that on the 6th, We have already advertised 2 public hearings for items that came from the planning commission and were slated for the March 6th agenda. We're happy to move those to March 20th, but that would be required if we do cancel the March 6th meeting. So whatever your pleasure is, staff will be available.
So next week, any objection to, and talking about 5 or 5:30,
I will be absent.
you will be absent.
I'm not available on the 26th. I could be available the 27th through the 25th or the 28th.
Just to clarify, if we don't meet March 6th, the public hearings will be moved back to the 20th.
20th.
They cannot be moved up to a separate date.
That's correct.
And I haven't completely confirmed. I'm not sure that the preschool CUP has a sense of urgency that can't be delayed until the 20th. And then the other is adoption for planning or the cottage housing. Yeah.
If we do meet next Thursday, it's fine with me. I would prefer 7 o'clock.
Okay. Nick, does that work for you?
7 o'clock on the 27th?
Yeah.
Yeah, that works fine.
Chuck will miss you.
You'll be all right.
If you feel inspired to dial in, we can conference you in.
Sitting in a cabin.
And does that mean the meeting on the 6th is, will not go ahead?
We will cancel that meeting. Plan to cancel the March 6th meeting.
On the 7 o'clock on the 27th, is that City Hall or here?
We'll have to check on availability. But we'll let you know the location.
When it's advertised to the rest of the world as well. In a timely manner that's compliant. Anything else, Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from council for the city manager? I just will echo, all of us grimace at the painful cold and egregious winter weather, and I'm very proud of our public works department who gets out and makes it so that we can get to work and to the stores and continue to function. So please pass along our appreciation for their work. Next item on the agenda is city attorney's report. Mr. Carroll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Only thing I want to mention, and this is for Nick's benefit, is we also have, and I guess everyone's benefit, but with regard to Brightspeed and the lease, we have sent back the proposed letter of intent to them and begin the negotiation process. They're considering the proposals that we put forth, and they'll be getting back to us, hopefully in due order, but we're trying to keep it moving forward. We have plenty of time now, but heard from the director and was given authorization to go forward with.
Always good to be
So,
proactive.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Other than that, been fielding questions and addressing issues as they've come. Worked with Tom and Janie on a few things, FOIA requests, some contracts, actually with the treasurer. But happy to answer any questions you may have about those or any other items.
Very good. Members of council have any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, sir. Next item is new business, City Hall bid opening as a precursor to our Thursday, 7 p.m. meeting.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll generate a report for you for your meeting on February 27th. That report will come out tomorrow along with a meeting location, which I'm guessing is going to be City Hall second floor based on communication from Janie. But we received one bid, and the bid was $5,718,000. That bid is a little bit on the high side. The construction budget from our review last August, the construction budget was about 5 million. So not great news in the sense that the bid price is over $700,000 more than the construction budget that we planned. Ms. Bell and Mr. Madigan and I met today, and we'll be providing for you tomorrow an update on on what the total project costs are, including design fees, project contingency, swing space costs, which were part of the discussion last August, and furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We'll present a handful of options that you will have to ranging from cancel the project to proceed with the project as it exists, and how to finance or fund the various cost elements that I just described. So look for that report tomorrow. But we were surprised to only receive one bid, but renovation work is not everyone's cup of tea.
Are they from somewhere around in the region?
They are, forgive me for not remembering off the top of my head, but they are in the region.
Did you talk to any of the other contractors that came to see if it is that it's a renovation or that the size of the project's too small for them at this time, or?
We haven't received any feedback. We were surprised because even the day before, Mr. Madigan had received 2 calls from contractors who were interested in bidding, and they just decided not to bid.
Bless you.
Could we potentially look into reusing some furniture, fixtures, and equipment? Depending, I know it may vary, but even if we reuse it for now and then potentially get newer furniture in the future, maybe that's a way to deal with some of the costs that may be over budget.
The answer is yes. I think we'll be disappointed in how little savings reducing furniture, fixtures, and equipment will generate from us. And what we'll have tomorrow, what Ms. Bell has put together, and she shared with Patrick and myself this afternoon, and which will be part of a report tomorrow, we'll lay out all of those cost items, where the cost centers are. As I recall, the FF&E was under 200,000. 149. Yeah, it was 149,000. So yes, we could reduce that or eliminate that. It just wouldn't really substantially help.
Sometimes when you're looking for savings, every bit counts.
Turn over every rock.
I'll remind you that when we did that with the schools, for instance, with Waddell, we reused the locks, and then council was appalled when the school came and said, after a couple of years, that we need to replace all the locks. You're better off doing it all at the time of construction.
Yeah. Miss Alexander, the bid form indicates they're from Madison Heights. So in the
Lynchburg. Okay.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
What do we know about wall construction in terms of their past type of work and performance?
They are a credible contractor. They have done work for Virginia Military Institute in the recent past, as well as a couple of other Lexington projects, which have gone well.
I'll throw out just a thanks to Janie. In the spirit of utilities, Janie shared publicly that Dominion will be trimming trees in Lexington beginning today, actually. So Lexington's getting the work with Columbia Gas and trimming of the trees. So thank you, Janie, for putting that out on social media for our residents.
And Brightspeed is still
Well,
around the area.
Brightspeed is still around in the area. Yes.
Very good. Not aware of any other business to come before council this evening. Unless there's an objection, we will stand adjourned. 7:52. Thank you all.